The BELICE project team was drafting and spreading a new manual on wide area assessment process, analyzing the performance of assessment search and rescue after an earthquake, with two targets: minimize the total number of fatalities and optimize rescuers' performance involved in the operations. Then the project tested the results following another document, the handbook, in a training program for end users like local authorities, user teams, and disaster managers with on-field training. All of that analyzing the state of the art, sharing useful case studies within and outside EU countries by a board of experts meetings and international workshops on case studies. Because of COVID-19, the end users have been involved in the whole cycle towards design workshops for trained trainers, tutorials, plugin, and virtual reality. The consortium was led by Italian National Fire and Rescue Service that jointly coordinated with Timesis, Italy, while beneficiaries of BELICE project were School of Application of Civil Safety France, German Federal Agency for Technical Relief, and Italian Civil Protection Department. The project was inspired by the Italian experience of the earthquake in the Belice River Valley. In the night between 14th and 15th of January in 1968 at 3 a.m., Poggioreale was stricken by an earthquake, 6.1 degree of the moment magnitude scale, 10 degree of the Mercalli scale. The event stricken also nearest towns of Gibellina, Salaparuta, Santa Ninfa, Montevago, Partanna, and Santa Margherita. The results of this event were about 300 victims, more than 600 injuries, more than 90,000 homeless, and about 90% of buildings infrastructures seriously damaged. Today, Poggioreale ruins have been chosen as a real scenario for national and international rescue training activities, like international field module exercises in 2016 and 2019, with rescue teams coming from Europe, North Africa, and other countries bordering Mediterranean Sea. INSARAG courses like Structural Engineer course and the User Coordination Cell course, and the European project field exercises like EASER. The phases described in the INSARAG guidelines help to organize an international user operation in a stricken area. However, these documents do not provide any guidance to local authorities about what is necessary to do before the event and in the first few moments after the event to understand the situation in order to optimize the rescuer's deployment. BELICE Manual suggests that the assessment process can be divided into three sub-phases. The pre-ASR phase, which refers to the planning activities that the local authorities should conduct before the emergency. The ASR 0 phase, which starts immediately after the event, and it could also be carried out off-site. The ASR1 phase as in INSARAG guidelines. When a disaster occurs, authorities on site need lots of information during the early aftermath and increasingly, so as they want to know how to respond, while on the other hand, information is likely missing and hard to get, thus growing very slowly. So, to fill this gap, preparedness is the key. Local authorities have to prepare a pre-earthquake emergency plan that identifies the future needs during the first few hours after the crisis, as well as information gaps. By using the contents of the manual, it is possible to gather the necessary information in a shorter time, thus providing a faster response after the crisis. The manual analyzes all the factors that can influence both the population involved in the event and the scenario, when the disaster occurred, daytime or overnight, and in the different seasons of the year. Furthermore, it remarks the importance of the time spent in this analysis in order to reduce it and save the greatest number of people buried under the rubble. The wide area assessment process starts before the event, collecting all information and data available on the area in ASR pre-phase, and it goes after the event to ASR1 through the ASR0 phase, those first few moments after the event, where the rescue response is not fully deployed or has just been activated. All data that are available after the event need to be adapted with other old data that was organized before the event with the preparedness. In ASR0 phase, local authorities, first responders, and user teams can start an initial action phase proceeding to overlay pre-event activities with the first information available post-event. After this phase, to complete the analysis with the consolidating phase, it is necessary overlaying the new data available on the emergency. The pre-crisis phase involves the collection, processing, and analysis on the base map of several parameters such as buildings, strategic buildings, population densities, emergency areas, main characteristics, and the road system. So as a result, the pre-event framework is a pre-event operational map where I identified all the relevant information needed to manage the scenario, including pre-sectorization. After the event, the initial action phase proceeds with the first data available, information from social media, last-minute information, and first information from scientific community, such as shake maps and alert systems. The aim of the initial action phase is to understand the situation, to identify the most affected geographic areas and the priority needs to inform the decision makers on the scale and allocation of resources to decide which action is needed. Using a seismic damage scale, it is possible to have knowledge about the damaged buildings for each sector and prioritize the rescue efforts according to the damage, optimizing available resources and saving as many lives as possible in the shortest possible time. The consolidating phase will include a systematic analysis pre-post-event data to have a more detailed picture of the situation, including other information from staff on site, flight activities, or satellite use. The decision makers in this way could have a global picture wide area with a priority scale as indication where to deploy the rescue teams. Following an earthquake, it is crucial to provide assistance to people under the rubble in the first few hours, because the probability of survival after the first 24 hours is drastically reduced. It is therefore very important to act quickly. The manual also compares this data with the findings of recent earthquakes, dimensions the sector into which the affected area should be divided, and establishes timeframes for carrying out assessment activities. The manual contains the analysis to find the better sector size in terms of number of buildings to assess, considering how many teams are involved, teams assessment capability, and buildings characteristics such as construction parameters, age, material types, and population density. The deployed resources have to reach the scenario where they will be involved. They have to face the barrier effects to get to the scenario, and those during the scenario. So, defining the sectorization of the area, the decision makers have to balance this information and scenarios characteristics with the operational response and choose a priority to maximize the effectiveness and efficiency of the deployment according of the damage suffered by the buildings. The manual contains an useful plugin to build the sectorization of an affected area hit by an earthquake and to choose the right priority for rescue management. It is based on the open source software QGIS. It needs an internet access to download the data from OpenStreetMap, a shake map layer, as well as an estimated population data layer. The tool considers different data for the buildings belonging to the created sectors, such as resident population, total number, type of construction, and age. As an example, it is possible to show the plugin processing for the recent earthquake in Petrinja, Croatia, last December. It is possible to fix the epicenter and the shake map built with the peak ground acceleration known after the event and the following shaking lines in the picture. The layer is downloaded from the net. Then the plugin creates a new layer, impact area, after choosing the PGA value, and now it is ready to make sectorization with different priorities. The tool creates a waylines layer with natural, administrative borders, and transport infrastructures, and then divides the impact area into sectors without buildings and sectors with buildings. This last one is useful for the sectorization starting from extreme priority, high priority, medium priority, to low priority. BELICE virtual reality is conceived as a supplementary asset to partially substitute the program that should have been carried out in Poggio Reale training field before the COVID pandemic. Virtual reality provides a light tool that can minimize the logistic criticalities, which become a major concern in a pandemic situation. It's an e-learning experience to be used in the urban search and rescue context, and it takes place in the consolidating phase ASR1. The player starts with a briefing, a general data about the scenario, some information regarding the sector is in, and the main goal of the mission, overlaying the information coming from ASR0 with the findings coming from his field observation. The player is now immersed in an urban context of an earthquake situation. He can look around, walk, see damaged goods and buildings, information like distance from the base of operations, hospitals, vulnerability class, and damage about each building is around him, possible risks of domino effect, the status of road network, alternative routes to the strategic buildings, and so on. BELICE virtual reality originates from the collaboration among the Italian National Fire Corps and the Virtual Reality Lab of Università degli Studi di Siena. A further aim of the project is to train the end users of the manual. For this reason, another document, the handbook, was drafted containing details about how to build up a typical course. The training methodology on the base of the manual has been planned for the Train or Trainees course and 3 full courses on field in Poggioreale ruins using the participant from EU member states. But the ongoing pandemic forces the project to change strategy and to come up with a new approach, performing and using other tools like tutorials, plugins, and virtual reality sessions. The handbook is built modular, using the material from the TOT course as a reference, and it is designed for experienced trainers in the field, with the joint and separated sessions integrated in the course. All sessions are based on the topics of the manual. Depending on the specific needs, the course can be customized, restructured, and it can be held with or without exercise. The BELICE project achieved its objectives, offering to the end user a manual on wide area assessment, also covering the phases like ASR0 and the pre-ASR, structuring the training through another document, the handbook. Due to the pandemic, the training experience on the field could not be carried out, and therefore the project performed products such as webinars, tutorials, and plugins for rapid sector sizing and virtual reality scenarios. 30 years after INSARAG foundation, a major achievement in minimizing loss of life in case of earthquake by increasing the efficiency of rescue operations. Thank you for your attention. You can find tutorials, video, and plugin on www.beliceproject.eu.